Let me ask you a simple question. Do you trust your eyes? Did you say of course I do? Well, in a few minutes, I will show you that your eyes are not that trustworthy. Let me start with a simple game. Sit in front of your TV, watching your favorite program. Sit approximately 10 feet away and just in front of the TV screen. Raise the index finger of your left hand in such a way that it is somewhat in the middle of the TV screen, as shown in the illustration. Now, using the other hand, close the left eye. What happens? The raised index finger suddenly shifts left, though you have not moved it at all. Now close the right eye similarly. You can't now see the index finger shifting to right. How does this happen? All the time you never moved your index finger at all. If you watch carefully, you can see another strange thing happening. If your attention is on the raised index finger, it looks opaque and blocking some view of the screen. But if you shift your attention to the TV screen, the index finger suddenly becomes almost transparent and you can see through it. You only shifted your attention and the eyes did not move at all. So they continued to see what they were seeing earlier. Why does this happen? The answer lies in the fact that your eyes see the external objects from slightly different angles, and so they see slightly different images of the object. Obviously, this is because the eyes are located some distance apart, one on each side of your face. You probably have noticed one more thing. Our eyes are rarely identical in shape and size. As shown in the illustration, the right eyeball is a bit longish as compared to the left eyeball in this particular case. So what happens? The right eye sees a slightly bigger image of the external object as compared to the left eye. So, in essence, our eyes neither convey us identical location of the object nor its size. But we do not see two images but single unique image. How is that possible? You may say, well, we almost see what the eyes convey us. But let me tell you that you may sometimes even see what your eyes have not conveyed to you at all. Look at the illustration. Assume that the circular objects shown in the figure are some sort of neon lamps placed on four corners of a square. Now let us see what happens when we switch on these lamps simultaneously. You can see the light spreading out in the form of a white circular disc. Did you see it right? Now I will challenge you that what you just saw is not a white disc of light, but only four circular fragments that don't form any circle at all. You don't believe me? All that you have to do is to keep the neon lamps on as they are, but change the color of the wall behind them from white to black. That is what I have done in the illustration. And lo! The white disc of light has vanished. What is left behind are only four circular fragments that don't even touch each other. This is exactly what our eyes convey to us. But how is that we saw a complete circular disc of light that never existed? Let me show you one more example to convince that we sometimes even don't see things that exist and at the same time see things that don't exist. For this, you may have to do a bit of work. What is shown in the illustration is a prison, with white-colored bars. Now, let us move a prisoner into this prison. You need to be very careful, otherwise the prisoner will escape. What I am saying is that, if for some reason you concentrate on watching outside through the window on the right, the thief would just vanish even without bending the bars. All that you have to do to see this effect is the following. Close your right eye. Keep staring the window with your left eye. Slightly tilt your head and move closer to the screen. At some point, the thief suddenly vanishes. But the bars look quite intact. How did only the image of the thief vanish when the portion of the image of the white bars in front of him did not? There are two things here, some image vanished and some other image at the same place did not. How was it possible? Sometimes, we may not even be able to decide what we are seeing. Look at the figure shown. What do you think it is? A white vase or two black faces facing each other? More you stare at the figure, more you get confused. You see both possibilities alternatively. If you have doubts that our eyes are responsible for this indecision, let me do a slight change. Paint the wall behind the image with black color as shown. Now you can clearly see the vase. Similarly, when you paint the wall white, you can see the two black faces and the face does not become that prominent. I did absolutely nothing to the original image. So what made us see sometimes a confusing figure and sometimes a clear unique figure? I will now show you another interesting case to convince that what you see is not always what the eyes convey to you. Look at the long alley of some building as shown in the figure. A lone guard is manning that alley. The guard moves up and down the alley every now and then. Did you notice something very interesting happening? The guard grows as he moves from near end of the alley to the far end of the alley and shrinks as he moves from the far end to the near end. This is no animation trick. And if you want you can watch it once again. Do you see it happening? But let me tell you the fact. The image of the guard is of same size all throughout. It was neither expanded nor shrunk in reality. How then you saw it as expanding and shrinking alternatively? That is not what the eyes convey. So much about the eyes. Let me show you a couple of cases to convince that even our ears are not dependable. Look at the illustration of the TV cartoon show. Mickey is extending the hand to the doggy and saying hello.
Hi doggy, how are you?
You can hear the doggy replying back,
bow bow, bow bow.
When you watch this on a real TV, please watch carefully. When Mickey says hello to the doggy, did you hear the sound coming from Mickey's mouth? And when the doggy is giving its reply, the reply is once again coming from the dog's mouth. You know that the TV screen does not have speakers all over the screen. The speaker boxes are only on either sides of the TV. In that case, how is it that sound comes from the TV screen at respective places instead of from the speaker boxes? Strange, isn't it? To convince you further, let me take the example of a talking puppet show. You probably have watched such a show where a man holds a puppet and starts talking to it. And strangely the puppet replies back. Look at what happens when the puppet says,
"Man, I am hungry."
In a real puppet show, you actually hear the sound coming from the puppet. But you very well know that a puppet can't speak. And when the man replies back,
Oh God, is he going to eat my type?
You hear the words coming from the man's mouth. In reality both sounds were made by the man himself through a trick called ventriloquism. But you hear the sounds as coming from two different places instead of one. How was it possible? Did your ears fool you, or you fool yourself? Probably now you are convinced that we don't always see what our eyes convey to us, nor we hear what our ears communicate to us. It is not the eyes, or ears, in fact all our five senses don't convey to us exactly what we perceive. What we perceive can be at times quite different from what we see, hear, touch, smell or taste. Probably, you wonder how this magic is taking place. The real truth is that our senses are only input devices that convey information to the brain to the best of their abilities. It is the brain that combines information from different senses, performs necessary corrections and interprets the combined information to give a semblance of reality. Or rather, what it thinks is reality. Now where is mind coming into the picture? Some people consider mind to be some ephemeral, unspecifiable entity. But most scientists nowadays consider mind as nothing but the brain in action. So, it is not really through the eyes, ears, or other senses, that we interact with the world around us, but through the mind. Senses are only the mediators. And it is ultimately the mind that has a say. I'm sure, now you will be keen on knowing how the mind achieves all these miraculous things. How does the mind work? This is quite complex subject and scientists have strived to break this puzzle for over a century. Only, for the past decades, we seem to be having some concrete ideas on how our mind works, in a verifiable way. You don't need to be an expert of sorts, to understand this complex subject. Dr. King's highly informative book, namely, How Does the Mind Work?, can give you a quick tour into this extremely fascinating subject. Using simple day-to-day analogies, Dr. King explains in an easy-to-understand way the nitty-gritty of this otherwise hard-to-understand subject. He presents the subject in a very structured way. You can restrict yourself only to the depth you are comfortable with, and still get a good feel of it. The book traces the historical and landmark discoveries that have happened over the past century or so, in the process of unfolding the secrets behind the functioning of our mind. It also provides salient contributions and recent advances in neuroscience, the scientific way of understanding the mind. If you are a computer-savvy person, the book takes you to one more level of understanding, by comparing the way a modern computer would have functioned at various levels of functioning of the mind. This has dual benefits. The computer-savvy person gets a better insight into the working of the mind. And at the same time, the scientist who is trying to solve some unsolved puzzles about the working of the mind can get ideas by looking at how a computer would have functioned in similar scenario. Many of the recent discoveries were motivated by such cross-mentality comparison, so it can be quite enlightening. This book is available both in e-book format as well as printed paperback format. Several vendors are selling this book, both online as well as offline. One place where you can have a preview of this book is http://www.amazon.com/dp/b00j4i0374. Please do read the book. It is really mind-boggling, but not exactly impossible to understand. You can understand the functioning of the mind, which I call mind magic, without much difficulty. Go for it.